Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the latest Spider-Man movie, so let's rank all the films from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name is Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming content. Leave your ranking down below of all the Spider-Man movies. For this list, I decided to just keep Spider-Man. I'm not going to include the Venom films or Morbius. They are connected to the Spider-Man universe, but I'm just going to focus on movies solely based on Spider-Man. So there are 10 films, and coming in at last place is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This is a jumbled mess of a movie. There are some beautiful web slinging moments with Andrew Garfield, and he handles the role of Peter Parker very well. They're not able to fully flesh out their characters. An example of taking on too much with Jamie Foxx's Electro or Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin. They're not able to connect these characters into the Spider-Man movies, and it just feels like wasted potential. We could have had a strong relationship between Dane DeHaan and Andrew Garfield in the movie, and we could have had a sinister villain of Electro, but it just takes on too much. You feel like they're trying to set up something that never happened in the first place. You had the setup of Rhino at the end, which was cool, but just was wasted. And so you look at this movie with what they're trying to accomplish, and it just does not work. Coming in at number 9 is Spider-Man 3. Another clear example of taking on a lot with James Franco and having the Sandman in here, then also having Venom as well. A lot of things go on in this movie. And then we also have to have a new style of Peter Parker within this movie. I still really like Sam Raimi's direction in this movie. The look at the different villains. There are some fun action scenes in this movie. Similar to a lot of other superhero movies, the amount of villains that we get is not able to develop it throughout the movie. We had some other movies before that have taken on a lot of villains, like No Way Home, but here you can't get a clear focus on one central villain. I really think they could have just focused on the Green Goblin with James Franco and had a more personal look at that relationship, as it was very strong in the first two films. But Sandman feels like he's just there throughout, and Eddie Brock just feels like it was introduced for really no reason throughout the movie. So Spider-Man 3 was a poor conclusion to Sam Raimi's trilogy, and understanding now that they didn't make Spider-Man 4 based off of this movie, but I wanted to like it a lot more. There are some fun moments throughout. It is a decent Spider-Man movie, but not one that I would consider to be the best. Coming in at number 8 is The Amazing Spider-Man. I don't know what it is. I'm not able to fully be invested in the Andrew Garfield movies. It's not Andrew Garfield so much because I really like his performance and I like Andrew Garfield as an actor. I think that the first movie, The Amazing Spider-Man movie, felt a little too cheesy with its portrayal of Peter Parker. And at times it's very comic book accurate, and it's more lighthearted and relatable. But some of the dialogue and interactions with the Lizard, our main villain in the movie, just feels a little too campy and cheesy for me. And the blend of that with our story for the Lizard just isn't able to create a fun, exciting Spider-Man movie. I like some of the action, and Andrew Garfield's pretty good in this movie, but at times I feel like this movie is just a little too boring, with some slower pace to it throughout, looking at like the origin story for him as they kind of change things throughout the movie. So the added addition to the film has to take a slower approach. And I do enjoy this movie for what it is. I think obviously it's a lot better than Amazing Spider-Man 2, but the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, it's enjoyable, but just at times very slow and not that exciting. Performances are pretty good. The added scenes that we get for Spider-Man and his father felt like were a little bit unnecessary. Like they were setting up something different, and it just did not work out for them. This is just an okay movie. I understand if you love it. I understand if you really like it, but it's just not for me. Coming in at number 7 is Spider-Man Far From Home. I had this much higher on my list a while ago, but after each viewing, it just falls lower and lower on the list. It's stupid for a good majority of the movie. The jokes, the interactions just feels very childish at times. When you have a solid story in here, after the death of Iron Man, you could have looked at what Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going through. And there's glimpses of that throughout this movie. And then also Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. That's very strong as well. Some good visuals throughout this movie. But they take this comedic route that feels very awkward and out of place many times throughout the movie. If it's with his friends or him meeting Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, I understand that he's able to correct these jokes to kind of lighten the mood or the scene, but sometimes it's just a little too much. Like, calm down with the jokes and the cheesy scenes. They could have just got rid of certain movies to add more development to Peter Parker and Mysterio as well, and the situation that is going on with him. It leads nicely into No Way Home, but Far From Home, the more I watch it, the more I do not care about this movie. Coming in 6 places, Spider-Man Homecoming. This was a great way to introduce Peter Parker into the MCU. We already had a little bit of him in Civil War, but a full-on film already established him as Spider-Man. Really did work. The villain of Vulture was really menacing. A villain that you sided with, Michael Keaton, gave a really good performance. The comedy is a bit hit and miss for me at times, but I love the style of it. It feels like a high school movie, has that right flair to it. It makes it really enjoyable to watch. Tom Holland is great as Peter Parker. The supporting cast is good as well. It's not as good as the first time I watched it. It kind of dips every time that I do watch this film, but I still really like this introduction. There's some really good action scenes in here. Tony Stark in here to mentor Peter Parker was a great small little addition to the movie. At times it feels a little bit too polished and clean, but overall this movie is a lot of fun with a really solid villain and a great introduction to Peter Parker in the MCU. Coming in at 5th place is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is a great animated film with a lot of heart, a really likable character in Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy, and having an animated form of Peter Parker, Spider-Pig as well. There's a lot of cool things that go on with this movie. The animation style is absolutely stunning. Very different from your typical animated film. They're able to blend a lot of different styles within this movie. The comedy's there. The development for Miles Morales to becoming Spider-Man is amazing. This is one of the best animated films of the last decade. When I first saw it, I couldn't believe what I saw. Not a live action Spider-Man movie. I didn't think it would be good. I didn't think it would be as good as some of the live action films, and it's on par with a lot of them. This is a solid story that focuses on Spider-Man and the love of Spider-Man as well, with a lot of minor characters that really add a lot to the story. Coming in 4th place is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I just saw this movie and I was blown away with this movie. All the different style of animation throughout from the different spider people that we come across, able to blend it so beautifully and looks so easy the way that they are able to make this film look. For understanding the canon behind Spider-Man and the different verses and the different Spider-Verses that we come across, they do some really cool things with some references to our live action movies and Spider-Man and other media as well. It's amazing to see where we've come with the Spider-Man movies and understanding the love for it as well. But looking at the story of Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy, it's deepened within this movie to where you get the sense that they do feel alone and they are able to express their emotions and have conversations with people about how they're feeling because they are left alone quite often within this movie. And so we have a lot of development for these characters as they are missing some of their friends. But we have a really strong story involving what it takes to be a superhero and really challenging that as well. And every spider person has to go through very important story to kind of position them into this being a superhero. If it's losing Uncle Ben or losing their father, whatever it is, everything has to happen correctly in order to become Spider-Man. And Miles Morales really wants to challenge that. So this film also is challenging the typical narrative behind a superhero movie and wanting to do something very different. The animation is beautiful. The characters are really likable. The new Spider people from Spider-Woman and Spider-Punk as well, they are so awesome in here. I cannot wait for March for Beyond the Spider-Verse. I have feelings that they're going to do some really groundbreaking things in bringing in a live action form, but this movie, I was blown away with it. The animation, the characters, the story, the deeper themes, how they're able to take animation and use it as a way to tell its story and have the characters express their emotions throughout. This is a solid piece of animation that will probably be one of the better animated films of this decade. It is that good. Coming in third place is Spider-Man. The first Tobey Maguire film is a lot of fun. I grew up watching this, and I know a lot of people have this a little bit lower on the list. The Green Goblin villain outfit's a little cheesy, but I really like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. He's really likable, down-to-earth, respectable guy, and I find him to be really kind and welcoming to a lot of people. That's what I love about Spider-Man. And what's so cool about the Spider-Man films is Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire have all contributed something different to these films, a different style of acting. I really do like Tobey Maguire though. His presence within this film is very heartwarming and welcoming, and I love that about these movies. But also on top of that, you just the sense of awe when watching this movie. If it's the web slinging moments, if it's him fighting against the Green Goblin, a lot of it feels big. And the way that they're able to capture all of that in 2002 is amazing. This film looks so good. And there are some moments that feel a little bit outdated, but for the most part, this is a great looking film. And we have a really natural development for Peter Parker throughout this movie. A true origin story is able to explore the emotions behind becoming Spider-Man and the loss of Uncle Ben. That feels like true emotional scenes throughout this movie. And his connection with Harry Osborn and Mary Watson as well, that feels like natural friendships that is able to grow throughout the trilogy of movies. Willem Dafoe gave a really good performance, a menacing performance as the Green Goblin, and this is a great classic superhero film. Coming in second place is Spider-Man No Way Home. I understand this is a fan service film. I get giddy every time I watch this movie, and it's so exciting to see Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland shared the screen together, and then bringing back classic Spider-Man villains, Willem Dafoe and Doc Ock and Electro and Sandman. Like, it just has the love of Spider-Man and those films within here. But also there's a really good emotional story for Peter Parker. The challenge of protecting his identity and a more urgent story. There's a lot at risk in here and having a big task. Everything that's been in the first two films is nowhere near compared to what he trying to accomplish in this third film. But having Doctor Strange in here as well, he feels like he has to take charge for a lot of things. And there's a lot of moments where he is tested throughout. But then we get new kind of versions of our villains, especially Electro. I love what they did with Jamie Foxx's character in here. A more sinister villain this time around, but having the prior villains in here, which was a lot of fun. This is the complete fan service kind of film, but also done in the right way. It understands the characters within Spider-Man, the love of it, but also delivering a emotional, exciting movie. But coming in first place is Spider-Man 2, released in 2004. This sequel took everything about the first film and just brought it to a whole new level. And there are some really good moments within here. That train scene with Doc Ock is one of the best superhero scenes in any movie. It's really epic, it's thrilling, and you see the motivation and the determination and who Peter Parker really is within a few of those scenes. but then he's tested once again. And can he be Spider-Man? Can he live up to what people think he is? And understanding the character and exploring him and really breaking him down adds to those personal moments for here. And Doc Ock, that personal connection that he has with Peter Parker, complicates things, but Doc Ock is a really good villain within here. Nothing feels cheesy or overdone. It just has this natural progression to it with a lot of great action. More look at his relationship with MJ and Harry as well. That all feels very personal and authentic, realistic as well. And Spider-Man 2 has just been one of my favorite superhero films. I was, I think, like 13 when this movie was released, so it's like the right age to be really excited about Spider-Man, and I've really never let go with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's one of my favorite Marvel characters. Captain America is my second favorite character, but I've grew up reading the Spider-Man comics and just really loving Spider-Man as a character and watching these films. And Spider-Man 2 is the one that I have the most emotions for. I'm excited for when watching this movie. A lot of it just feels very thrilling and personal to Peter Parker. The development works for him as well. And Tobey Maguire once again gives a really good performance as Peter Parker. The whole cast is really good in here as well, but this film is amazing. So there you guys have it, all 10 Spider-Man movies ranked worst to best. How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you want to throw in Venom and Morbius as well in there, go ahead. And stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.